The spirit of innovation is deeply ingrained in America, and Google is helping Americans innovate in ways both big and small. The Air Force Research Laboratory is partnering with Google Cloud using AI to accelerate defense research for air, space, and cyberspace forces. This is a new era of American innovation. Find out more at g.co/American innovation.
Hey there, travelers. Kaylee Cuoco here. Sorry to interrupt your music, great artist BT Dubs, but wouldn't you rather be there to hear it live? With Priceline, you can get out of your dreams and into your dream concert. They've got millions of travel deals to get you to that festival, gig, rave, sound bath, or sonic experience you've been dreaming of. Download the Priceline app today, and you can save up to 60% off hotels and up to 50% off flights. So don't just dream about that trip. Book it with Priceline.
Go to your happy price, Priceline.
You are listening to Women's Running Stories, where exceptional women runners share inspirational stories about their running experiences.
My name is Jessica Mena. I am a runner, I think now more a trail runner, and I live in Los Angeles, and I'm also a physical therapist. Yeah.
Yes, this episode features Jessica Mena, who is a longtime runner, now focused on ultra trail running. And she has been continually driven to discover what she is capable of in her running life. But before we hear more from Jessica, I want to welcome you to Women's Running Stories. I'm Cherie Louise Turner. I'm the host and producer of this podcast. Thank you so much for being here. A quick note up top here, just a reminder that Women's Running Stories now has a newsletter. It comes out every Thursday. It is on Substack. I will put a link to it in the show notes to make it easy for you to get there, or you can go to Substack and just look for Women's Running Stories. It is free, and every week I update you with what's new on the podcast, what is coming up, some notes from my own training and racing, a recommendation, and other items in the running world that are catching my eye. So yeah, look to the show notes, click the link, head on over there, and subscribe. All right. Now on to Jessica Mena's story. These days, Jessica is a coach, she's a runner, and a physical therapist, like she said. She is also a community builder. She was the founder of Tempo Training Run Club. And in her running life, Jessica is inspired to go after big challenges and set big goals. It has been this way since the very beginning of her running journey. Most recently, Jessica set her sights on the 100-kilometer distance at the Leona Divide Trail Race. This is a tough course. And she is going to talk all about her experience there, as well as what came before to get her to that point. A few items to clarify before we dive in. Just as a reminder on conversions between kilometers and miles, the 50-kilometer, which Jessica mentions, that is 31 miles, and 100 kilometers is 62 miles. Also, Jessica mentions the Speed Project, which is a relay running event that covers the 340 miles between Los Angeles and Las Vegas. Some runners have also done it solo. Jessica was part of a relay team that ran it in 2023. All right, let's hear Jessica Mena's running story and how she got to where she is today, running her first 100-kilometer race. This journey started many years ago when Jessica was a preteen. And now here to tell her story is Jessica Mena.
So I started running in middle school. So I was in 7th grade, and my PE coach at the time noticed that I could just run laps. We used to run a mile like once a month for a fitness test in PE. And I was just running. I would keep up with the boys, and he always pushed me. Hey, you should run Students Run LA, which is a nonprofit organization here in the Los Angeles school district. And I thought, I don't want to run. Running is boring. And finally, some of my friends were I joined Students Run LA. And I realized that when you join Students Run LA, they give you a free pair of shoes and some clothing. And so, yeah, I thought, oh, that's cool. We'll get free stuff if I run. Like, great. So I ended up joining. And lo and behold, I had no idea what running meant. Or anything like that. And I remember that we were doing all these insane training runs. And so I'm like, okay, I'm running 3 miles. And I'm still not understanding the concept of we're training for a marathon, right? I don't know what that is. I've never heard of a marathon. My parents didn't know what that was. And so they just thought the school bus is picking you up on a Saturday. We don't have to, my parents worked like 7 days a week. So for them, it was easier. And they were really grateful for this program because it kind of took care of me, paid for my lunches and everything. And lo and behold, LA Marathon Day comes around and we go to downtown. I'm like, this is awesome. Look at all these people. And we start the race, and 18 miles in, I'm thinking, okay, we must be done. Like, this is the longest I've ever ran. And I sat on a curb, my hips, my groin were on fire, and I'm miserable. And I tell this lady, like, how many more miles? She's like, honey, you've got 8 more miles to go. And I started crying, and I thought, I'm never going to finish. And I remember seeing these older folks who would power walk the marathons, and I just ended up sticking with somebody and walked the rest of the 8 miles. And that was my first marathon in about 7 hours and 30 minutes or something like that. And when I finished, I thought to myself, oh, that's a marathon. I understand now. And I had 1 more year of middle school, so I ended up signing up again. And then I think I felt really accomplished after that run, not knowing that I was going to do something really, really challenging, and then coming out of it and immediately thinking, okay, I think I can do this better next year. And that's, I think, when my affinity for running came to be, was feeling this sense of accomplishment. Like, yes, it was horrible, but I got past it. And I did it, and maybe I can do it better because my friends did it in 6 hours. So maybe I can do that. And and that's how it started. I've been running since I was 12 years old. I haven't stopped. And that's how my road running career kind of started, was through Students Run LA as a middle school kid. In retrospect, now as an adult, I do think it's a little bit controversial in so many ways, right? Because, a 12-year-old hasn't really experienced discomfort and pain, and experiences like that. And it really kind of pushes a young person to kind of figure out what perseverance means without even knowing what perseverance really means. And I think it was a big learning curve for me. And maybe that's why I think now I really like doing maybe tougher things, because I encountered it so young and pushed myself for so many years to do tough things. So in a lot of ways, it really helped mold my work ethic and my motivation. But yeah, it is I think now, I guess as an adult, it is a little controversial. Like, well, would I have, if I had, a 12-year-old sibling or a child, would I have them run a marathon? Probably not. But I do think that it really did help us and kind of keep us out of trouble, in some way, and keep us busy and, stuck to doing motivating and positive things in our life versus, being at home. And hey, there's nothing wrong with playing video games. I love video games, but we were out running, on a weekend and staying after school and running a few miles with our coach. And I think in my life, it was kind of a very pivotal point in my life to pushing me into the running career that I've had for this long. So, yeah. Yeah, I ran every single year up into high school. I ran a marathon, and yeah, it was through that. And each year I got better. The following year I dropped an hour, ran it at 6 hours. Then I ran it in 5 hours when I got to high school. And then in high school, I slowly dropped by a few, like half an hour, 40 minutes. I think by the time I was a senior, I had ran like a 5:20 marathon or something like that. And I got recruited to go to a D3 school cross country team. They had seen me run in high school, which I also ran cross country in high school. And I loved cross country, one, because it was a longer distance and it was hard. It was like hilly courses, you're on the trail. That was probably my first interaction with trails, was in high school when I was introduced to cross country. And then when I got to college, that's when I first really understood what true competitiveness was. And I think that I came off a high in middle school and high school, feeling like I ran marathons. I have these awesome, people that I hang out with. Yes, I ran cross country. I think we won state my junior year. So we had a fast team of girls. I mean, I felt super confident. And then I went to college and I realized there are really amazing, strong female runners all across the states. And I just did not comprehend that until I went to college and raced against them. I think it was a very, very humbling experience, and it brought me down to earth a little bit and made me realize that, okay, I think I'm an okay runner and really I'm not. And there's so much more work that needs to be done to optimize performance. And if I really want to do well, like, I'm going to have to step it up. And there was camaraderie between the team, and yes, like in high school and middle school, it's all fun, but there's kind of a business aspect to college where you rely on your teammates for all the support. But when race day comes, I mean, they're also your competitor. And I learned that very quickly. I had a hard time with that. I think I definitely struggled with that in college. And that was the first time I think I questioned whether this was really something I wanted to do, because for so many years I did it because I loved it, truly loved it. It was hard. I loved the feeling of it, but I never thought that I would be that person that looks at the team and be like, I'm going to kick your butt. That just wasn't in me. And through that experience, I think I grew as a competitive runner. And I mean, now I say I do it for fun, but really deep inside, like, there's always a performance goal. Like, no, I'm going to try to beat this girl, like, that's in front of me. And I think I learned that from college. And that was also like a whole new evolution of who I was as a runner, of adding this aspect of, you have to be competitive if you want to succeed in college sports. And yeah, that was a great learning experience. And of course, a lot of those runners, even to this day, don't run, and I think that has to do with, sometimes with college sports, as much as I respect it as it is, and you really have to have a very competitive personality through and through to do well in college sports. And I don't think I had it all the way. So, but a lot of those things that I learned in college have carried me through as an adult into road running, road training, and then ultramarathon racing. So I ran cross country and track 4 years of college, so all 4 years. And the first 2 years, it was such a driving force, because all I wanted to be was the top 7 of our team. And I worked really hard, and yes, we had fun. And I learned, like, you have to push yourself and kind of get out of that camaraderie type of energy when you're racing. And I think what that did was, the first 2 years, it really helped me succeed and run well. And then I think I got a little exhausted. I mean, it just a matter of time in terms of, you're in school full time, and then you're going, I'm working so hard in academics, and now I have to exude more energy to be competitive, for sports, which is something that I really love. So the last 2 years were a little bit hard, and I kind of fell off, and I said, I really don't care. I'm doing this because I love it. And so my last 2 years, I think, weren't the greatest. My first years were awesome. And I think I just got burnt out, really. And then when I left college, I had the epiphany of like, what did I do? I was going to school and running. That's all I was doing. I wasn't, having to pay attention to bills or anything or work. And so immediately there's this sense of regret. And then that's when I started training for road marathons. And I think everything that I had learned in college in terms of work ethic, waking up at 5 a.m. and getting your run in before you go to school really applied to my adult life. And, as I was in grad school, I'd wake up at 4 a.m. and go to the gym and run. And I did that for 3 years where I would just wake up at 4, go running for an hour, get home, go to school, be from school from 8 to 7 p.m., like 8 a.m. to 7 p.m., go study until 12, and then do it all over again for 3 years. And I think that my college experience of just working and training really hard helped me in grad school. And once I left grad school, again, that stuff carried through. And then this is when I first heard of Boston Marathon. So this whole time I had never heard of Boston Marathon, had no idea what that was. And someone's like, you've been running since you were in middle school and you've never qualified for Boston. And I thought, what the heck is that? And looked it up, and I knew immediately, okay, I'm going to start training and try to BQ. And this is when the competitiveness that I had developed in college really came to fruition as an adult. And I think it started in 2018. I really started seriously training for the Boston Marathon. And I qualified, I think within the year. My first one was my first BQ time was a 3:26. And and that's kind of what got me to it. Ever since then, since I've qualified for Boston, yes, I love running, and training for me is fun. I actually enjoy training probably a little bit more than racing nowadays. But that drive to want to perform has been there pretty much most of my adult racing career. And I think each race I try to PR. If it's a half, okay, let's try to PR by a few seconds, a few minutes. If it's a marathon, let's try to BQ and PR by a few minutes, a few seconds. If I'm doing a workout on the road or the trail, I'm looking at my Strava. Like, is there any way I can do a PR on this segment or get the fastest score? I mean, I looked at FKT. So these are things that I internalize. I don't necessarily talk about it publicly. It's probably the first time I think people are going to hear me saying this. I don't think people would consider me like the most ultra competitive. I don't talk like it, but yeah, there's this internal drive, I think, for me where I'm putting so much work. I want to run better and I want to run faster, and I'm not doing it for anybody really, but for myself. And so maybe that's why I don't really verbalize it. But I don't think I'm one of those people that can just run for months and not race. Like, what drives me and what I love about running, yes, it's a community aspect and being outdoors and pushing my body. But what I love about it is, I guess it's that knowing that I have this gift to move and I'm physically able. Why would I not want to try what I can do? And I think that maybe some people put constraints and say, you're getting older, you're not going to get faster. And I'm like, I'm probably in the best shape that I am right now as a 35-year-old than I was in college. And I think that keeps me going, is knowing, well, I feel like I'm getting fitter. I know that I'm going to do these races. I'm signing up for these races knowing I want to know how far I can push it, and, mentally, but definitely physically. And I love that. And I think that's always been another driving force, is just, I think everyone has the potential to be so much greater. And that accounts for all the people that I run with. I'm like, I know we could do more. And I know that if you could do more, I know I can do more. I just don't know what that is. And I really want to find out what the cap is. And if I could do that, and I'm fortunate enough to have, the job that I have, and, live where I live, where I'm so close to, not only roads, but just trails, like, why would I not want to find out? And I think that's maybe that fiery competitiveness with myself. So I think that for me, I also have to be very cognizant and reasonable with what I'm saying and when I'm being competitive. There is always definitely a time and a place for it. Like, am I going to run all my, runs really fast? Absolutely not. I mean, I have 2 quality sessions a week. Those are the 2 times that I'm going to push pace. Otherwise, I'll run easy. And you know what? It's taken me a long time to learn that, because I'd say 10 years ago, there's no way you would have asked me like, oh, let's run, 10-minute pace or an easy run. I'm like, what? I'm not doing that. Like, what the heck? And now, I'm also, in my mid 30s, and, as a physical therapist, you have to practice what you preach. Like, you have to respect the physiology of the human body, and pushing it and being at 100% all the time is just a recipe for disaster, an injury to happen. And you do have to respect the recovery process of it. And I myself, have my down weeks. Every 4 weeks, I run half the mileage that I run, and run really slow. And sometimes I am out there smelling the roses. And if someone passes me, I get that urge like, ooh, I want to get them. But Jessica, you cannot. Today is your easy run. It's just 5 miles. You'll get them next time. But it does take a part of it. And I've learned this, one of the coaches that I had, they said, part of it is you have to tone down the ego. And part of why you want to run so fast is because you have an ego, and you want to make sure that no one can, pass you or do these things. And it's okay to admit that there is part of you that wants to be like this all the time, but you have to be disciplined enough to turn it down and be responsible for that, because you're just going to end up hurting yourself. And that's been a big thing for me. So now when I catch myself like wanting to run faster, even though I shouldn't, I'm like, okay, ego check. You don't need to do that all the time. Just chill. So again, I've been running for 24 years now. So it took me 20 years to understand that. But I finally got there. And honestly, that's been the reason why I haven't really had huge injuries in the last 2 years. It's just because you kind of understand it's true what they say is you have to take your easy days easy. And when you push, great, push. If you feel great, push the pace. But in terms of, I think now that I'm in this world of, yes, I love trail running, but the goal is performance for a race, is you want to get to the start line healthy. And that's always a motivating idea for me when I'm training. So after I qualified for Boston ran Boston twice, I said, I think I kind of like checked off my bucket list for road running. Do I really want to run a sub 3 hour marathon? Yes, just not right now. Just because I've been working so hard for Boston, and training for a big race like that, it's work. As much as you want to say you enjoy it, it's work. It's a part-time job. You eat, sleep, and breathe your training. Again, just the level of training goes up a lot higher. And so I wanted this little break, and I started running trail. Some of my friends would join me in the trail. And then I heard about one day I was running on the trails, and there was a local trail race that day. And it was around my birthday. So it was in June. And what is this? And they're like, it's the Valley Crest Half. And I thought, wait, there's trail races? Again, didn't know. I don't know why. Maybe I'm just a little naive, but there's a lot of things that surprised me that I didn't know. So I didn't know that there was trail running races. And I looked it up, and I'm like, I'm going to sign up for next year. And so then I signed up for that race a year in advance. And then I heard of SoCal Trail, which is a local trail racing company. And they had local races around. And the shortest one was like a 15K. And a 25K. And I thought, okay, I'm going to sign up for this race. And so I had something to train for, and started training on the trails again. And then I really, very difficult. I remember doing my first 6 mile trail run, a serious training, and I couldn't even run half of it because it was so hilly. And then I felt so defeated. And then I thought, no, this is exactly what I need to do, because one day I'll be able to run up all these hills. And that was my goal. I need to be able to run this hill next time, because I walked it. And so that was a whole new challenge for me. I sucked at it. I had no idea that this existed. And I thought, well, I wonder if I could do it. And so that's how I got into it, which was also around the time we ended up doing the speed project. And so I was not sure that I could run more than 26 miles. And we ended up running 40 miles each. And so then I thought, no, I definitely have to push this. This is awesome. We're out in the desert. I trail run. I heard about like Badwater 135. All these races were coming up. I was watching YouTube videos. I just was blown away with these awesome women running ultra marathons. And I was so sad that I had barely discovered it, but also so happy because, I mean, there was a light that turned on inside of me. And I said, I have to try this out. So started with a half marathon trail race. And then, of course, I became friends with a lot of trail runners. And I'm hearing these people run these distances, again, I didn't know existed. In my head, I thought a marathon is the longest distance. And of course, we're running with friends. I'm signing up for a half marathon. They're like, hey, do you know there's a 50K? And I'm like, what? So there's a 50K? Like that's longer than a marathon? That's like the next longest race? Okay, I guess I should sign up for a 50K and see if I can do it. So I ended up going like half marathon, like 30K. And then I signed up for my first 50K, which was Avalon 50K in Catalina Island. And I was so miserably happy out there. It was like beautiful. There was buffaloes. And I'm thinking to myself, we're running 32 miles, but we get to drink Coca-Cola and eat chips. Like, sign me up. So and then I honestly, that was the first race, the 50K, Avalon 50K, where I knew this is where I was going to be for a while. And I signed up for a few more 50Ks. Again, me knowing, well, I ran this in 5 hours. I think I can do it a little bit faster. So I trained for my next 50K. I had my first DNF and I was like, oh my God, this is the worst day ever. I got to go back in redemption and do this. And so I just kept doing 50Ks and my friends were signing up for like Cocodona 250. And I'm like, wait, what's that? Or Javelina 100. And all these friends that I'm training with are signing up for these bigger races. And they're like, Jessica, you've been running 50Ks for a while. You know you can do more than that. You should sign up for a 50 miler. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to sign up for a 50 miler. And that was Leona Divide. Signed up for my first 50 mile. Miserable, but elated. I'm like, wow, I can't believe I ran 50 miles. And I kept thinking about the freeway. So it's like from here to, I don't know, like Long Beach. Like I just ran from here to Long Beach. Like what? That's insane. And I think there's just so much pride knowing that you finish something so hard. And at the same time, I'm thinking, yeah, I ran from here to Long Beach, but in the mountains, like on huge elevation gain. And again, I'm thinking, okay, I did this in, it took me, in my head, I was really, really maybe a little bit too confident. Like I'll finish this in 9 hours. And I finished it in 12:47 or something like that. And I was like, I have to come back and run this. And my friends were like, yeah, you're going to come back and run the 100K. So I signed up for the 100K, which is what I just ran right now. And I ended up PRing my 50 miler by like an hour and 45 minutes and finished the 100K in 14:58, almost 15 hours. $100K is a scary number. And that course runs a little bit longer. It's not 62 miles, it's 64 miles. And in ultramarathon running, it's 2 miles makes a big difference. That's easily could be anywhere between, 30 to 40 minutes extra. So I went into it knowing like, hey, I know what most of the course looks like. Like I need to go out there the first 20 miles and push pace. And that's exactly what I did. I went out there and I was not afraid that I was running a 9-minute or 8-minute mile. I was like, yep, I'm doing it the first 20 miles. And each downhill, I pushed it. I was not afraid. I wasn't thinking about how my quads were going to feel later. I'm like, no, the first 20 miles, I'm taking advantage of this because I know that I can push it. This is what I've been training for. So it was like releasing that fear of, you can't do that, and turned it into, no, you're going to do it. And know that at the end, you have been training for this fatigue for 16 weeks. So after I think the first 32, I ran really, really, really well. The only mistake I did, which is something that I told myself I wouldn't, is that I didn't fuel efficiently enough. And so when I hit 32, I'm pretty sure my glycogen levels were really low, but my blood sugar levels were low. I got instantly nauseous. And so from miles 32 to 64, I couldn't eat anything. I was not able to get down a gel. I couldn't get down water. The only thing I could drink for 34 miles was Coca-Cola. And I was really nervous about the dehydration because I know I was dehydrated. But anyways, I think the biggest thing that I learned from this race was, yes, as much as most of it is physical, a lot of it from the halfway point is so mental. And you have to have such a strong, positive mindset, because the second that your brain goes into this dark side, it's really hard to get out. And physically, your body responds to what you're feeling emotionally and mentally. And I'm so grateful that I had a pacer. I wasn't going to have a pacer. If I didn't have my pacer and have him just kind of talk me through logically, like, hey, you have 20 miles left. I know it doesn't feel like you can do this. The next aid station is in 6 miles and it's downhill. You can do this. I probably would have quit. And that was, reflecting back, I think that that's something that I need to work on myself is, a lot of people talk about sports psychology and mental fortitude. For ultramarathon training, you definitely need that, because once doubt creeps in, if you are not prepared or have strategies to try to help turn that into fuel, I mean, you're either gonna drop, or you're just gonna have to really reconsider what it is that you're going to do to change this around. And so I think coming out of that, I know that yes, I need to continue training, but what I really need to work on is just like mindset. I really thought that I was gonna. I know it sounds insane when you. I reflected for 2 days about this. Like, wow. Like, I ran well. In retrospect, I ran really great and I placed really well, and I didn't think that was going to happen. But yeah, I think that, man, I really felt like I was going to die. I thought that I was going to be out there. I'm like, I'm going to get a heart attack. I can't feel my feet. My feet are still numb. My toes are still numb. I definitely irritated something, but I was out there and I thought my feet hurt. I'm 43 miles in. I could turn around and just drop to the 50 miler. But again, you think that things are much worse. And the second we started going, my brain totally shifted. Like, it's a downhill. Oh my gosh, I can totally do it. And lo and behold, by the time we came back up, it was 57 miles. And I thought, okay, I just have 6 more miles to go. I could do this. This is, something very doable. But yeah, your mind is such a powerful organ and tool. And I think maybe we kind of ignore it a little bit. I think all of us think we're really positive, and some of the stuff that we encounter in training is difficult. But man, I truly respect these people who are running 100 plus miles, because you have a lot of demons coming at you at some point, and you hear it all the time. You're like, man, the demons are going to come out here. You're going to start, hallucinating and seeing things. You start going into the pain cave. Courtney talks about the pain cave. I'm like, yeah, I'm sure it's physical, but I'm sure it's a lot of negative whispers in your ear, and you have to battle that. So for me, I'm just being very methodical of, obviously I can't go from a 50K to a 100 miler. I mean, my goal is eventually to run a 100 miles. So I'm just slowly creeping up the list of the trail distances and making sure that I'm comfortable and learning. I'm pretty new to the sport of ultramarathon running. So really owning in like the nutrition aspect of it, proper training, like how can I change my training? I went last year from just running easy all the time to now I know I'm mostly running on trail, and 2 days a week on trail, we're doing quality sessions and speed workouts on trails and hill repeats and strengthening and doing all these things. And it's been a really, really fun experience. And again, every time I'm out there, I learn something new. And I think that's what keeps me very interested in it. It's just this whole new world. And I'm absorbing as much as I can, like a little sponge. And, I do coach ultramarathoners. So it's been fun for me because I'm just jumping into the whole coaching aspect of it and educating myself and trying to figure out ways how to help my athletes, which in turn generally help myself. And yeah, it's been a great experience. And again, this is kind of the root of my affinity for ultramarathon running is you just don't know what you can do until you go out there and do it. And then you realize, oh, I think I can do this. I'm doing it. This is insane. And I love that I'm doing something insane. And I can't wait to see how much more can I do, and that question is still out there to be answered. And just I'm on the quest of trying to figure that out.
How much more can Jessica Mena do? The question remains open. And that is one of the things that keeps running so interesting and so much fun. There are always ways to challenge yourself. A big congratulations to Jessica on meeting this most recent challenge of running a tough 100-kilometer race. And my very best to Jessica on whatever goals she has coming up in the future. Thank you, Jessica Mena, for coming on the podcast and sharing your story. I really, really appreciate it. And I know you, like me, will want to continue to follow Jessica's adventures going forward. So look to the show notes and I will provide a link to how you can follow her on Instagram. And that does bring us to the end of Jessica Mena's story on the podcast. And that is the end of this episode. That is going to do it for me for this week. I am Cherie Louise Turner. I'm the host and producer of Women's Running Stories. And until next Tuesday, I do wish you healthy, joyful strides forward. Women's Running. Women's running stories.